Hello and welcome to the Year 7 Mersea Island PowerPoint. This was going to be in person on Thursday, however I thought it would be a lot easier to send out a virtual PowerPoint or presentation just to provide you with some key information and things that you need to know about before your son goes away to Mersea Island on the 15th of July. So firstly, some key aims of the trip, some things that we want your son to come away with. First of all, to work part of a team, to develop his teamwork skills. Second, to try new things, whether that be new food or to try new activities and hopefully conquer some fears. Thirdly, to develop new friendships, perhaps sort of speak to boys who he hasn't really spoken to as much this year, who might come from different classes. To develop his confidence, to gain some independence, particularly away from home, and show some resilience. To show some leadership skills and to be a team leader. To hopefully become more organised too, and most importantly to have fun, because this should be hopefully the absolute highlight of his year. Now in terms of the staff attending, so it'll be myself as trip leader and as the head of year. Mr Harris will assist me as the deputy trip leader and he brings a wealth of experience from last year. Mrs Corby, one of our TAs. Mr Jackson, who your son will know as one of our behaviour support officers. Mrs Cox, Miss Benedetti, who is a Year 7 form tutor. Miss Turner, Miss Payne again, one of our Year 7 form tutors. Mr Sturch, Miss Dunstan from our AN department comes down for 2 days, and then Mr Wadsworth, Mr Lyon, Mr Smith, Mrs Bayer, Mrs Davis and Mrs Bennett, all of whom come from SLT. Mrs Osmond there again, who'll be down there for 2 days, so lots of staff there to ensure your son has a really good time. So in terms of key timings, on the Monday the 15th of July we'll aim to leave at 8:45 promptly from school, but boys really should start arriving from 8 o'clock onwards outside the main reception area by the kind of front of school by the car park, where we'll begin to load the boys and their luggage onto the coaches. And then coming back on the 18th of July on the Thursday, we'll aim to leave Mersea Island at about 1:30, and we should be back at school before 3:30. It takes roughly an hour and a half to get there, obviously traffic dependent. And please, when dropping off and picking up your sons, please do not park on school site. Now in terms of how the days will look, on the screen there is an example timetable. Now there'll be 12 groups in total, and the boys will be roughly in about groups of 9 or 10 sort of per group, and there'll be about 2 or 3 groups per activity, ranging from things like kayaking, high ropes, off-road biking, the famous giant swing, indoors archery, kayaking, pioneering. So there's quite a good range there of different activities that your son will get to be involved in. For the important kit list, so these are things your son will need to bring for the duration that he's away with us. Now in terms of clothing and shoes, so nightwear or pyjamas, underwear and socks. Please bring spares of these just in case some do get dirty through the activities that they'll be doing during the day. Some shorts, these need to be knee length for all activities. 1 pair of trainers for the day activities, and 1 pair of trainers or sort of shoes for water sports. So preferably older trainers that you don't mind getting wet or dirty, and possibly as well a pair of dry shoes for evening activities. But lots of t-shirts and some clothes for the evening. Swimwear, including a towel, also will be really important, as will a sleeping bag and pillow, because this is not provided by Mersea Island. 1 towel for showering and 1 older towel for sort of wet or muddy activities, and then attached to this he will need to bring a bin bag or some bags to put his old, dirty, muddy, wet clothing into, so it doesn't infect the rest of the clothing in his bag or suitcase. A torch and batteries, because the boys will be staying in tents, and a wash bag, so soap, shampoo, toothpaste, all the things he'll need for an evening and morning. Now in terms of the sort of day bag, a small rucksack or bag, a refillable plastic drinks bottle, a waterproof jacket, just in case the weather does take a turn, and then a baseball hat or sun hat and some sunscreen, please. And all clothing items ideally should be named to avoid them being lost or mixed up with other boys. So just as a really quick summary from the kit list, we are going to a campsite, so please do not bring any clothes you do not wish to get dirty. So please leave all of the expensive designer wear at home, because it'd be quite upsetting if that was ruined. A refillable water bottle is really important to stay hydrated. A sun cream and sun hat, again, very important. Make sure that's snuck in, even if the boys claim to you that they do not want to wear sun cream because they will get burnt. A substantial packed lunch for the first day, because dinner will be around at 6 p.m. and we don't want them to be moaning that they're all hungry. And then one piece of luggage and one piece of hand luggage, which your son will carry his packed lunch in on the first day. So please ensure the packed lunch is in the hand luggage, and then to bring a sleeping bag and a pillow, please, because these are not provided by Mersea Island. So for mobile phones and valuables, please tell your son not to bring any valuables or mobile phones. There is nowhere to look after these or keep them safe, and we will take no responsibility for any valuables at all. I've been to Mersea Island before, and the trip is so much better when phones are banned. This was the case last year when Mr. Dye banned mobile phones, and there was lots of positive feedback from parents, pupils and staff as a result. I will also have a school phone on me so that we can contact you if there are any emergencies, and we'll also put photos on social media so you'll be able to see what your son is doing throughout the day. And if you do have an emergency and you need to contact us, your first port of call will be the school office. If you do have any questions about this, please feel free to get in touch. Now, in terms of the tent and the activity groups, so the tent is currently ongoing. So these are roughly 6 to 7 boys per tent, and there's over about 20 tents in total. Now, pupils have been told to come and see me with their proposed tent groups, so this is still ongoing. So please tell him to come and find me in school if he does have any questions or concerns about this. I'm doing my best to ensure that all the boys are put with their friends, and then once I've done this and once this has been finalised, I will then create the activity groups and share that with him in due course. Mr. Elliott, the trip's administrator, has emailed out all of you a medical form to all parents to be completed for any sort of medical or dietary requirements. We'll need to share this, particularly the dietary requirements, with the Mersea Island staff at least 1 week before we go. So can you please ensure that this form is completed as soon as possible? I believe we do still have some that are outstanding. So please ensure this is done as soon as possible. Now, the second thing that was sent home was the contract of behaviour. So please do take some time to read through this, because this is what we expect all pupils to uphold for the duration of the trip and obviously for the duration of the time that we are away. Now, this was emailed out to you, and the deadline for this was last Friday on the 14th of June. So if you need to, if you're one of the parents that still needs to sign this, it needs to be signed by yourself and your son and return to school as soon as possible. If you do need a copy, please speak to Mr. Elliott via reception or tell your son to go to the main office and a paper copy can be provided to him. But this is really important that your son reads through this carefully, because these are the things that we're going to be holding him to whilst we're away. So can you please make sure that all these forms are completed as soon as possible and returned to school? They were sent out via email by Mr. Elliott, but they do need to be returned for your son's place on the trip to be guaranteed. In terms of medication for the trip, this will be handed to the medic, the designated sort of staff member for the trip on the day of departure. I'll share with your son who this is in due course. The medic will then administer the medication as and when is required throughout the day on the school trip. So please make sure that any kind of key instructions you put on the form or are sort of clearly labelled on the medication for the duration of the trip, please. So in terms of money, there will be a tuck shop and vending machine available, I've been told by the people at Mersea Island. We recommend roughly £5 to £10 max. Please be conservative in the amount that you're giving, because we don't want him to be running high on sugar, and we do want him to sleep, and he will be responsible for his own money. So lastly, in terms of student expectations, students and pupils should maintain the same high standards whilst at Mersea Island as we would expect in school. Even though your son is not in school uniform, he will be representing us as a school, which we take extremely seriously, which does include to be respectful of others, whether that be Mersea Island staff, Hurstmere staff, or pupils from any other school, particularly Hurstmere staff, because these are people that are, giving up their time to go away with your son and make sure that he has a really good time. To use manners, so please and thank you, these don't cost anything at all. To keep the campsite clear of litter, and to maintain a clean and tidy tent. Each tent I will designate a tent captain to, and they'll be in charge of sort of maintaining order and making sure it's all clean. And parents, Just something for you to be aware of, please. Should your son's behaviour at any point become either unsafe or inappropriate, he may be removed either from certain activities, or as a last resort, he could be sent home. And if it happens, you'll be asked to come and collect him. So please ensure you have a conversation with him before we go regarding this, because this has happened once before, and I want to make sure that this year we have a really good and fun, positive experience. So hopefully you found this presentation to be quite useful. If you do though have any further questions remaining and wish to contact me further, please email me at j.monksfield@hurstmere.org.uk. Thank you.